Thank you for helping the setup and thank you for attending my presentation. My name is Xianlong. I'm a PhD student at Ohio University. This talk is about a deep learning model explanation method that we proposed. The title is Human in the Loop Model Explanation via Verbatim Boundary Identification in Generated Neighborhoods. We're at the moment where AI seems to taking over everything, and deep neural networks are everywhere. For example, in healthcare, given a brain image, computer vision algorithms can scan the image, identify the brain regions, and then give feedback to the doctor. In the middle example, we can see a given image that is segmented into different fields and labeled with different labels. In the last image, the AI algorithm are likely to build on the top of deep learning models might be applied to determine whether a person can get the loans or not. However, the black box nature of deep learning models limits their use in case-critical applications, raising faithful and ethical concerns that lead to trust crises. Researchers and practitioners have adapted several approaches, including first, using approximate models for explanation, and second, linear local explanation for complex global models, such as line. The fundamental limitation of these approaches is that they assume certain aspects of deep learning systems, especially complex deep neural networks, cannot be understood by human beings. And second, typical human users can only understand simple concepts such as linear systems. We tended to make improvement in this area by presenting various aspects of the actual model through verbatim model manifestation instead of trying to approximate the model. And second, identifying and generating a manageable number of data points to present the user in the local context of the point of interest, so that the human user can use their own intelligence to understand what the actual model is trying to do with a limited scope that is manageable by a human being. With this intuition, we aim to design an approach to facilitate human users' understanding of deep learning models, especially deep neural network, through first, verbatim manifestation of certain aspects of the underlying deep learning systems, and second, contextualized visualization of carefully curated or generated data points that facilitates human understanding. In other words, we're trying to build a bridge between machine and human intelligence to address deep learning models' explainability problems. Furthermore, we observe that typical human users do not need to understand the complete machine learning models or deep learning models to gain confidence in the results from the model. The user only needs to understand the rationale behind the decision related to the current task. In this paper, we present a three-stage human-in-the-loop XAI system, a high-level illustration of which is depicted in the below figure. For a given mispredicted point of interest, our framework tries to carve out its local decision boundary and delineates the model behavior through a neighborhood manifestation. Our framework leverages variational autoencoder to generate neighborhood examples that cross the decision boundary. Human users are involved in exploring the neighborhood through 3 carefully designed interventional points. These intervention points help human users limit the neighborhood scope and enable them to gain insights from the model behavior. Given a trained machine learning model or deep learning model, especially deep neural network, and a mispredicted point of interest, we intended to generate a neighborhood that can enable a better human understanding of the model. The generated neighborhood needs to satisfy 3 critical criteria. First, the instance in the neighborhood needs to be semantically close to the point of interest. Second, the decision boundary is at least partially visible within the neighborhood. And third, the neighborhood needs to maintain the number of instances in a manageable size so that human users can gain insights from it. So now we talk about our 3 stages. In stage 1 can be described as a stochastic process that generates neighbors from a given point of interest. There are 2 approaches to accomplish such a procedure. The first is variational autoencoders, and the second is generative adversarial networks, also known as GAN. Both of these 2 generative methods assume an underlying latent space that is mapped to the original data space through a deterministic parametricized function. The generative model often consists of an encoder that can map the given data point into the latent space, and a decoder that can decode the latent space vector back to the original space. In this work, we adopt VAE as the generative model because of its more straightforward model structure. Next, to identify and visualize the local decision boundary, the given trained deep learning model is applied to generate the instance. The classification results are highlighted with different colors so that the model behavior can be delineated. We call this classification results as classified neighborhood. A classified neighborhood is one where every data point within the neighborhood has been classified by the model under investigation so that the decision boundary is identified and visualized verbatim. Because the actual model is used, this is a verbatim manifestation of the model decision boundary within the neighborhood. In practice, a larger value of the step length is recommended to ensure a decision boundary with clear differences between the opposite sides. 3 interventions points are provided in our human-in-the-loop stage. Specifically, a refinement intervention point that provides a multifaceted, refined neighborhood exploration. A zoom-in and zoom-out intervention point that enable human users to take a closer look at a certain region of interest. A morphing intervention point that select 2 examples from each side of the decision boundary and creates a visualization path. So right now, let's take a look at the first intervention point as shown in the left figure. For the first intervention point, human users are enabled to identify the dimensions of interest, that is, specific dimension from the d-dimensional latent space. Next, we allow humans to adjust the hyperparameter step length along the selected latent dimension for exploration. A larger value of the step length will enrich the segmentic variation, while a smaller value will provide a more concentrated results. The step lengths serve as a tuning knob to adjust traversal speed in the latent space, which help human users to understand how a prediction is carved out from specific changes. Human users are allowed to identify two hidden dimensions of interest for a second intervention point and construct a morphing matrix based on this two-dimensional space. Allowing morphing of two dimensions simultaneously can provide a richer context around the point of interest. The second intervention point acts as a zoom in and zoom out effect to assist human users in gathering insights from the generated example. For the third intervention point, a few instances that are semantically close to the given point of interest at two sides of the decision boundary are provided. Next, a morphing path between the two instances are created and the paths pass through the point of interest. The algorithm that identifies the nearest neighbor and creating morphing paths is shown in algorithm 1, and that is in the paper. You can check that. Such morphing traverse data manifolds while crossing the decision boundary, which can delineate the model behavior and explain how and why a particular image is relevant to the prediction. We have extra examples and experiments on different data sets that are provided on GitHub page. We encourage you to explore our GitHub page as shown in the paper. We've tried means fashion dataset, we've tried point cloud dataset, we've tried celebrity A dataset, and we've tried different generative models, including models that based on GAN. And that's it. Thank you.